Today's guest is Sweettalker, a band based in Nashville. Sweettalker's quality music has been helping establish them among their local scene. Welcome, Sweettalker. How's it going, man?
What's up? It's going good. How are you, Bowie?
Doing so good. So let's start back to the beginning. Where were you born and raised? And then how did music first enter your life?
Born and raised in Indiana, northwestern Indiana, right in the smack middle between Indianapolis and Chicago. And so only ever mostly saw the south side of Chicago, which is sort of Gary and Hammond and that area. Michael Jackson was born in Gary, of course. And so, didn't get to experience much of the city on either end, and just kind of in a cornfield in the middle. And there were people, north of me that had Chicago accents, and then people south of me that, of course, started to have the southern accent. And but just like in the middle of nowhere, man, to be honest, in a cornfield. And music. So grew up in church, so music's a big part of, well, it was a big part of our church. And our pastor was this incredible singer as well. And he had 4 daughters, and they could all sing in this 4-part perfect daughter blood harmony. And it was like, so, and then you had my favorite, like, sort of surrogate grandma who had the natural long nails, not like the fake nails everybody's got now. She like grew them out and like filed them every day. Nice. But she played the organ, and I would go up and sit next to her in church as a little boy and listen to her fingernails tap on the keys, because you couldn't really hear the organ very well from where you were sitting. It was coming out of the speakers, so you would just hear her fingernails tap on the keys. I remember just being really inspired by harmony and what it did, what music did for people, in a group setting. So I think maybe that was my initial emotion with music. But I remember hearing, I don't remember, like an 80s hair band song. And it may have been just like in a convertible. But it could have been a convertible at a stop sign, just because I grew up in like on the corner of in a small town. I don't know if it was coming out of the speakers, where it was coming from, but I remember hearing it for the first time. And I don't remember what song it was, because it's just this moment in time for me, but it was like this guitar riff, dude. And it was like, something I remember moving in me, like, that's my thing. That's cool. I want to figure out what that is about. And so from then on out, it was just like guitar and, listening to music. That's the long answer.
That's your moment. No, that's cool. That's great. That's a perfect answer.
So, I hadn't thought about that. So I was like, yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting to hear about. And like some people, it's kind of like a gradual incline into like, okay, maybe music is it. And some people, it's like there is one moment they remember where it's like their life changed, and it's so cool to hear about that.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I didn't really ever think of it like, oh, my life changed, but I mean, it did. It impacted me in a way that I was like, that is such an awesome thing. I don't know. Yeah, it just impressed me as a kid. So yeah, whatever that means.
That's awesome. So you got into playing guitar. Did you join any groups or anything when you were a kid?
Sure. Yeah. I was just part of various like worship groups, played bass. I learned bass from a 2-fingered man, this guy who grew up, it was a friend of my dad's growing up and whatever. And he worked for Co-op, which is a farm store. Anyway, he was changing a tractor tire one day, and it came down on his hands and it sliced off his fingers. And so he would play the bass just with these 2 fingers. And
crazy.
I learned to play the bass from him, and he played by ear. And so that was an interesting start. And then I got some lessons. So yeah, I started in the church, and then played it with the church band, had a little sort of a side worship band type thing. And man, just growing up in the small town, that was just where music lived. If you weren't obviously I was homeschooled. So if you weren't in band at school, there were no shows going on in my town. So finally, when I was older, that, we had like this bowling alley that people started promoting shows at. But so then I started my brother and his friends started a band, and we got into more heavier music, and we were playing. So yeah, all throughout my teens and 20s, played in bands and groups with my buddies, my brother especially, and friends. And then Sweettalker's been a thing since about 2015. So I
Awesome.
really haven't stopped, it's just always been working on something. So
Yeah, well, that's awesome. So eventually moved to Nashville. When did that happen?
2011.
Okay.
Yeah.
What made you want to make the jump?
So I went to school. I went to like a 2-year school in Charlotte area, North Carolina. Came back to Indiana for about 4 years, and I came back for music. That's where, I was the oldest guy in my band, and so my little brother was still, I guess he was still maybe in high school, and the drummer was still for sure in high school. He was a junior, and we started touring and playing, and I was there for a few years, and then we just got to the place where, I don't know, man, I just felt like it was time. This is Dave, by the way. Hello.
Hi, Dave.
What's up, dude? How's it going, man?
Good.
Yes, this is Bowie, by the way.
What's up, Bowie?
Welcome to the
Bowie,
podcast.
Dave Bowie. Dave Bowie.
Yeah.
Okay, that's the thing. David. So yeah, just I felt like I had to get out of the small town thing. I wasn't going anywhere. I was working kind of a hard job for no money, waking up at like 4 something, and nobody really ought to wake up at 4 something. Like almost for no good reason. So yeah, I just packed my Saturn full of crap and moved down. Stayed on a couch for way too long. I had there was a friend, and he had a bunch of roommates, and nobody used the living room. So it was just like Ryan's room. And finally someone moved out of the house, and I moved into the room, and yeah, humble beginnings here in Nashville.
Yeah. What were your expectations when you first moved to Nashville? And like, did Nashville meet those expectations, or was it different than you thought you were getting yourself into?
Dude, zero expectations. I wasn't leaving my band. I was trying to convince them to come down, but I was leaving geographically where we were all located, coming down here to just see sort of what happened and try something else. I didn't come with any sort of grand musical ideas, because at the time, I played a different style of very much heavier style of music. So it wasn't ever, country music dreams or Broadway aspirations or anything. So I didn't have any expectations, honestly. And David's not from here either. And he and I had been buddies growing up and playing in music and playing in bands that were similar. And we kept in touch over Facebook, and we sort of just talked on the phone until we moved to the same town. And he moved here, a couple years later.
Yeah.
And then we started it, playing music together. So
yeah. So Dave, what's your brief story about how you grew up and then what took you to Nashville? Like, where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Augusta, Georgia, and I fell in love with music at my local music scene. I just thought that the older guys and the local bands were really cool. Like, and I wanted to be like that, and I wanted to kind of like just be involved. So I started doing that, and eventually like my band from my hometown started like playing regional shows. And I was like, oh man, I can do this. Like I can just make this happen on my own. Eventually I was moving out to Los Angeles, but then just redirected course to Nashville because I had some opportunities in Los Angeles that just fell through. And Ryan was already living in Nashville at the time, and I was just kind of on the phone with him talking about my music industry woes, right? And he was just like, you should just move here, man. You should just move here. I was like, they call it Music City. I'm not sure why, but you should just, yeah. And Nashville wasn't a thing people were talking about at the time. No one was like, Nashville's like where everybody's moving. Right. And it was popular when I first moved there, but it wasn't like as something that most people were aware of. No, you know what I mean? Downtown Broadway was popular, but like not that popular. Yeah. I mean, when I moved here, I could park on the curb on Broadway to get like a hot dog stand, hot dog on Saturday night, like at a certain time. Like I could wait in line and get a spot and park. So, I mean, now they've got it where you can't, we've got like airport security, like keep moving. Yeah. Don't stop. Mm-hmm. The Ubers don't even stop. You have to jump out.
Yeah, that's crazy. So what were your stories like when you were both there? So did you both move in together right off the bat?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a room, like him and
I had a bed made for him.
Yeah. He basically he was just like, dude, we got a room ready. Like, just move in. I was like, cool. And I just like pack up and drove 36 hours straight to Nashville.
Oh, that's right.
Without sleeping. And I
was dumb.
And instead of going right to bed, Ryan's like, hey, we're playing a show tonight. You should come. So I drive all the way across town from the house that I was living in that I just drove 36 hours to move into. He's like, hey, will you drive 45 minutes across town?
I forgot about that.
Another 45 minutes after a 36-hour drive.
It wasn't 45 minutes.
It was like damn near.
Oh, yeah, because it was out.
It was like Laverne or something.
Yeah.
Mount Juliet.
Yeah.
That's what it was.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's just like, oh, okay, one more hour. What the hell not?
Oh, my gosh.
Why the hell not? So, yeah. No, yeah, I just moved right in, man.
Did you guys start playing together as soon as you moved in?
No, like his band, his like heavy band, which his band was like really good. And they were still like out there grinding. And when I first moved into town, I was like, well, I'll just start trying to write songs for some country music people and see how it goes, you know? So I was like doing that. I was writing country songs when I first moved here.
It says such disdain.
No, I wasn't like that. I was just saying I was here to do that thing. Right?
Yeah.
And then they were his other band was still like really working hard and making waves, you know. So it was kind of we were all like homies, but we were doing our own thing at first.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So what's the story about how you guys came together musically and like started your band?
Well, I think he had some ideas that we all lived together, of course. So he would play us some ideas that he was writing, and just like, dude, that's cool. And we would sort of start talking about the songs, and then I don't remember. I think we just like at a certain point we had both wanted the same thing. I know we were like, we want to start, like I wanted to start a rock and roll band, and he wanted to start a rock and roll band, and we were like. And I had a name, and he was like, dude, let's name it that. Let's do one band. Is that right? Is that something like that? And so we were like, okay, cool. We'll join forces and we'll write songs together and see what happens. I mean, it's hard enough out here for one person. So we were like, well, hell, let's just try together. So,
right. Yeah. It's way more fun to do it with your friends than to like be like, I don't know. So I was just kind of like, yeah, I think we both were like, we just like doing the band thing, you know.
That's what we know for sure.
So we were, started making songs, man. Like it was like 2015 summer. Yeah. And we were like, all right, let's start like writing songs for this thing. And we had no idea what we wanted to do. We just wanted to make a band. Like there was no like grand vision. We weren't like chasing a trend or something like that. We were just like, let's just make stuff we like. Just do it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
It was cool. Yeah.
So what's the story of the band's lineup? Has it always just been you two? Have you guys got more people involved? How'd that evolve?
Yeah. Started with Dave and I, and my brother's always been close musically with me. And he's really talented. And so he was willing to just help in whatever way he could. So he's bounced around on instruments and he plays with us. And then our drummer, Chris, I mean, he's been playing with us now for, I don't know, 4 years, a while.
He's been playing with us since the very beginning. There was like another buddy that was like, when we first started touring, so we started like playing shows January 1, 2016. I think our first show was the 7th, actually January 7th, but we had a buddy of ours playing drums, filling in at the time, and we hadn't even met our current drummer, but it was like 2 or 3 months later after we started playing shows, we met Chris. And then it was then we've had the same lineup since.
Yeah.
Wow, that's awesome. So what's your writing process like for you guys? What's the dynamic of how the songs get written and recorded?
Man, I wouldn't say that we have that totally worked into. This is what, look, Clyde's
giant dog.
He is, it's time for his moment. Anyway. I wouldn't say we've got it honed in, man. I think songs have come from different spots in different areas of our brains and lives so far. You know, like the songs, the batch of songs we got out now. that is Paradise, you know, those are songs that range, you know, between brand new and 4 or 5 years, reworked over time and rewritten and produced, you know. So our process now is,
it's just somebody brings an idea
Yeah.
to the table, just any idea, and then we all just like play with it in the room, and then we all take ownership of it once we've heard it in the practice room, and just start working on it and changing it. And the best idea lives, right? Like we try our best to like keep the ego side of it out, right? Because it's like that's the motto, is the best idea wins. We're not going for we all have equal amount of ideas or nothing like that. It's like if one person has all the best ideas, guess they had all the best ideas, but that's what we go with, right? Yeah. So we try not, you know, it's we try to treat it like, you know, if we're all there in the practice room being like a resounding board, you know, signing off on it, saying yes or no, then we have equal claims to it, right? We're all participating. So
that's interesting. I like that. What about recording? Do you guys record yourself? Have you always recorded yourself, or do you go to studios, or how does that work for you guys?
Record demos here, usually on my computer or Dave's computer, and work those out. We've got some buddies, some close friends here in town that we work with on the demo side of things and sort of birthing the idea. And then we've got our producer friend who did Paradise, Matt Goldman, who's amazing. And he's our guy. So when we're ready to record a new song, you know, just talk to him and start the process. And then the song, of course, takes a lot of shape once that whole team is in place, you know. So, you know, when we started when we started Paradise, we had the songs mostly thought through and thought out. Paradise wasn't thought out all the way.
Mm-hmm. The last song, the song Paradise, not the album.
Yeah.
The last song was still kind of like in the ethereal. I kind of knew like all the parts, and I was like, this is gonna work out.
Yeah.
We just all had it was just one of those things where it's like, yeah, this is how the song works, and we all trusted that it was just gonna turn out fine. But all the rest of them, we spent a ton of time in pre-production.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's Matt Goldman was the guy who like recorded and then mixed and then produced it all, right? And he like worked with us. So before we started recording, we went into pre-production where we're basically just in a practice room re-recording demos with the producer, and he's like working with us, and we're like rewriting it, and he's like, oh, you should take out the pushes here and be on the beat here, and you know, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Change the melody here, whatever. So
it's been like a weird process. It's hard to define, you know, because it's not like we go into a writing room and come out 4 hours later with a complete song, and then we just go and hire musicians to record that song.
It's not that.
Which is the process a lot of times here, and it works great. I've been a part of those processes before, but they haven't seemed to work for us in that way. Very seldom does it come that way. So I don't know. We're just kind of open. However it comes, we're willing.
Yeah. We just try to be flexible.
You got to be there for it, you know.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's super organic, you know, just the way it comes, how it comes. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So
we haven't quite formalized it yet.
Yeah. Well, that's great though. I mean, it's worked out. So I mean, whatever you're doing, I guess it's working.
Thanks, man.
So what would you guys say about, so I'm curious about Nashville. So you guys said it's your friend, or the producer's your friend. Would you say that when you're looking for someone to work with on these projects, do you look for your friends first, or do you kind of look through the networks of who's around professionally, and then you kind of gain friendships that way? How does the dynamic in Nashville for you guys been?
Man, that's an interesting, deep sort of question. I mean, the network here is great, man. I think people here in Nashville, for the most part, are pretty open with each other and willing to share ideas and share contacts and stuff like that. You know, our producer, Matt Goldman, he's not from here. So I guess the direct answer to your question is friends, because we've known him for years previous.
Never worked with him.
We'd worked in his studio with other producers.
That worked under him.
Yeah. So we'd always actually kind of dreamed about working with him. So in some ways it wasn't like, well, who can we get that's our friend that'll do it? It was like a little bit of both. Like, who's our friend, but also like, that guy is who we've always wanted to work with. Why would we not talk to him first And that happened organically too, man. It wasn't like we approached him officially when we were ready.
Mhm.
It had been a conversation for a year previous because we had talked about the idea of what we wanted to do. And I sort of sold it to him kind of in a passing conversation, like, hey, if you ever want to do a record where we really try to do ELO, we really try to do Beach Boys, we try like just get weird and organic with it. Like, if you ever want to do a record like that, let me know, because we want to do something like that. And he was like, I want to do that. And so we were like, okay, cool. So then we got our shit together and called him, and he was like, cool, let's do it. So he worked so damn hard on it. I mean,
He really did.
it was a passion project for every single person involved. So
That's the
I'm
best
forever
kind.
grateful to Matt Goldman. I hope these songs do something cool just for you alone. Just for you.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, like when, you know, the whole team's so inspired about a project and so driven towards it, you can really feel it as it comes through. I feel like, where it's not just another number, you know, it's not just another, you know, paint by numbers or whatever. So that's awesome.
Yes, exactly. We're very lucky to that have been the case.
That was the case, I feel like, a lot of the time, man. And you know, we've all been in the recording studio plenty of times, and it's not always like that. So grateful for that. Hopefully that happens again. It might be the only time.
You never know.
Good thing we got most of it on video.
Yeah.
That's awesome. How was the pandemic for you guys?
It's been weird, but we've found the silver lining, you know, like we've taken this time to like get tighter as a band. I mean, we didn't stop. I mean, we basically just stayed practicing the whole time, because we didn't know how long it was going to be. We're like, oh, okay, well, we'll be back on at the end of the summer. We'll just start touring then. So we're like, let's keep practicing. Let's be ready. Yeah. And then it was like, oh, it's not going to happen right now. And then we just kept practicing. And then, yeah, we've just been like staying grinding as best we could, you know, like
throughout the year. Yeah. We were bummed, dude. We had a release show all planned. We had a horn section that we'd worked with for the album. They were there. They knew the music. They knew the covers. We were ready. We had the show all planned. We had like the drink sponsors. Wow. And so then a tornado hits Nashville and damn near tears down that whole area. Our building that we were going to do our show in was like still standing, you know, had a couple leaks, but they were like, we could still do it. So we set up the show, and like the day before the show or the day of the show, like they call and we're like, hey, this pandemic thing, we're feeling weird about stuff. Everyone else is sort of canceling their shows. So we're going to have to shut you down. And so it was just that. And then again in October, I think that was maybe before the second wave or the third wave. I can't keep track. It's hard, but we had a show then planned in October where we thought everything was going to come back. And again, it got canceled like the day before. Wow. So in the meantime, like we put out our record, man. We had all these music videos we worked on. We had probably the most amount of organization and coordination between us as human beings ever known.
Basically a year's worth of content.
Yeah. So
made.
And we just decided, hey, you know, no one else out here is making noise. The pandemic had everyone. I mean, that was anything on the internet was just about that. So we kind of took the gamble and put it out, and we just stuck with our schedule. And so then we just made content all year. And then at Christmas, we made a giant
Christmas like TV episode type thing.
Yeah, it ended up being this whole thing. It was like 37 minutes long. We made this whole episode of a Christmas special, and we had all these artists from around town be involved. We got to use a snow machine.
Yeah,
there was a drag queen that was a host. It was amazing.
It's mad cheesy, but it's also epic.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's awesome.
It's awesome. Yeah.
It's Christmas, you know, like what do you expect?
It's exactly right.
That's awesome.
Is it cheese or is that snow?
Is that cheese or is that snow? I think that's Parmesan.
Yeah.
That's awesome, guys. So it sounds like it was rough, but you guys came out prepared for the future more so, right?
Well, we were just ready to slay in 2020. I mean, we had we'd taken most of 2019 off to record this damn record.
2018.
So the last show we played, last real show we played was New Year's Day, New Year's Eve, 2018. Wow. You know, then we go to the studio 2019. We play one gig in 2019. The whole other time we're doing record stuff. We're working, saving money, doing record stuff.
paying for it.
And then we're like 2020, baby, you know, like this is our year of clarity, 2020.
Yeah, it's all gonna pay off.
Oh no, it's crazy.
So we'll look out for that. Limited edition re-release, baby.
Yes, there you go. So what are your plans for 2021? What do you hope to accomplish this year?
We're just getting back on the road, man, and we want to start recording again towards the end of the year and get like another thing ready. You know, like we're gonna tour off the stuff that we released in 2020 and try to like do a really, you know, strong summer, as strong as we can anyway, and then like be ready to hit the ground running with some new material. Like we've been writing new songs too, so we have new material ready to go to be recorded. Well, it needs to be like it needs to go through the process again.
We got to send it up into the magical and hope it comes back.
It's got to be like it's got to be like rewritten like 4 more times first. But you know, we're in the preliminary.
I'm looking forward to it and dreading it at the same time.
Yeah.
It's a lot of work, but it definitely pays off.
But I know we have some ideas. I wouldn't say we've got hardly any complete songs, but enough good ideas of very close to complete and, you know, different stages that we're like geared up. I think we're ready to try to do another thing. And
I'm feeling good. I feel like we haven't written our best song yet. So I feel like, you know, this next batch is gonna be better than the last.
Yeah, I hope that's true.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'm excited for you guys. Sounds like you guys are going to get on a good foot this year, you know, more live shows. And exciting.
Booking some shows. Yeah. Working on some content and doing some stuff.
We've already got some dates on the calendar for this summer. So some preliminary stuff. Yeah.
We got to get on the NFT train next, I guess.
Yeah, exactly.
There you go. That's where it's going to be at.
Yeah.
So as two people who have moved to Nashville from other places, what advice would you give to new artists who are thinking of moving to Nashville, moving to Austin or some other city for music?
Plant your roots, because it's a long journey. But if you stay committed to it and you are process oriented and not result oriented, then you will find success. And
you'll find success in it. But I think in that process of being process oriented, and if you take it as it comes, then you learn to adjust your expectations sort of as your life leads, you know. And so success comes in ways that maybe you didn't expect to, you know.
Yes.
Lots of value.
You just have to be in it for better or worse and accept what you receive, and then just believe that you're entitled to nothing but the work.
Sleep your way to the top.
That's right.
That's awesome. So yeah, you mentioned plant your roots.
That's our problem.
What's one of the roots you would suggest someone plant? Like, what would you want them to focus on when they first get there?
Make friends, like become friends with the people in the community. So that means like go to shows and like introduce yourself to people and hang out with them, you know, because that's really, I mean, you know, you have to work hard and become better and smarter. You have to wear all hats as an artist. Like there's no getting around booking tours. There's no getting around how to figure out how to run ads on the internet. There are no shortcuts in any department. You can't pay someone to do something for you because they're just going to take your money. You have to do it for yourself. You have to do everything for yourself before you find someone else to do it for you. And so it's going to take a long time. You have to learn, you have to be getting smarter every day. And you also have to become more humble. And you have to, like I said, make friends with people, because even if you do all that hard work by yourself, you still can't do it without other people around you. You can't do it without making new friends and making those connections, you know? So it's really
and how you do that, really. I mean, not to get too philosophical, but you know, how you make new friends is not just, you know, you can't just go up and introduce yourself to somebody that's cool, who's having a night, who made plans with their friend to sit at a bar and talk and didn't expect a stranger to, you know, so it's not, but you
can't be shallow.
Yeah.
You have to be a genuine person.
Yeah. To bring real value to people's life. I think people come here with the idea of, what's it going to do for me? What's it going to do for me? And as cliche as it maybe sounds, it's almost like, well, what can I do for
the community,
for the other people, for those that may down the road be, you know, of assistance or feel that sense of reciprocation because you showed up and were generous with your time and your efforts and your love and your whatever, you know? So yeah, I mean, that's what we've seen work for us, is the good cheer and the good vibes that we've planted with others, and trying to be helpful and trying to be supportive. And the whole idea of the Christmas special was that, like, just giving people a platform to sing their song and do their thing. and doing it in a year where we all were forced to be apart. So that's a big part of, you know, our process is like, you know, the heart's there and whatever. So bringing value to each other and hoping that even if, you know, Sweettalker doesn't do anything beyond what it's done, you know, or if it just does what we did again, finding value in that and having the relationships in the process have been fulfilling and not empty because you're looking just always forward to the payoff of being famous or rich or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So
you'll never get that payoff, even if you do somehow become like the most famous person.
By the time
it's like it's gonna be like it's gonna be short lived, and then you're gonna feel hollow at the end of it because you've set your eyes on the wrong prize, you know.
Yeah, I totally agree, and I love what you guys are saying. I think there's a ton of value in that for, you know, the people who are thinking of moving to these cities like Nashville. So that's awesome. I love it. What are you guys excited for? That's coming up.
Maybe
shows.
I mean, that's the easy answer.
Public, like interaction, you know.
Yeah, but I would say beyond that, because I feel like that's everyone's answer. I mean, I'm always most excited about new music, so I'm really excited to get back in the studio again and fucking go even harder, you know.
Yeah.
And like try to do something different and more exciting.
Yeah. I'd say that Silk Sonic, dude, Anderson .Paak and Bruno Mars, their new thing.
Unbelievable.
That crushed us.
It made me want to quit.
Smash. I'm done. Oh my God.
Oh, they're so good.
Yeah, dude. I get the intro stuck in my head. I put that on.
Dun.
New York came to see you tonight. Dude,
oh, you're talking about the intro.
The intro.
Okay, one with, hell yeah.
The intro track. The only 2 tracks they've given us so far.
Yeah.
We gotta hurry and put some more music out before they put the whole record out.
Crazy when they release the album and you hear the whole thing. It's just gonna be.
They're gonna put the whole album out in this.
I'm gonna burn every song out as they release it. Just like I listen to everyone 500 times.
Yeah, I don't know if it's possible to burn out that music, but I'm about to find out.
Yeah,
I'm getting close.
Sounds like a good plan for the year.